everyone, and thanks for checking out mycheerconnection.com. Today we're hanging out with Maryland Twisters Black Ice at their Stunt and Tumble clinic here in Glen Burnie, Maryland. What's your name?
Brooke.
Brooke, what stunt position are you for your team?
I'm a back spot.
But I heard today you're trying to learn how to fly, is that correct?
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about flying?
Baskets.
And what basket tosses are you working on today?
Kick doubles.
All right, now that looked pretty good to me. What did the coaches tell you that you needed to work on?
I need to keep my hands in.
All right, now I'm hanging out with
KK.
KK. What stunt sequence were you just working on?
Full up to heel stretch, and then low high to heel stretch, and then back to a heel stretch, and then I was gonna do a double down.
It's easier to do than it is to say, isn't it?
Yeah, sort of.
All right, now, what did Matt, your coach, ask you to work on for the next time you do it? And what do you think the hardest part of that sequence is?
He told me not to step back when I do the high back to the other heel stretch. And I think the hardest part is doing the low high to the bad heel stretch, because usually that's the leg that flyers don't stretch out the most. So and you have to get used to being more gentle and used to pulling it, keeping your chest up.
All right, now I'm hanging out with Matt from Black Ice, and he's helping coach the clinic today. Matt, I just talked to KK, and she was working on a pretty long sequence that I can't even remember how to say it. What were you giving her tips on and how to make it better?
She was doing a 1.5 up to heel stretch, and then 2 TikToks, and on the 1.5, she was doing her rotation. She started kicking her heel stretch to the back corner as opposed to waiting to finish her rotation and kicking the heel stretch to the front. So she was kicking way too soon, causing her to go off balance.
So all the kids that are working on full up to heel stretch and full and a half up to heel stretch, you'd recommend making sure you wait till you get all the way around, see the front wall, and then kick up your heel stretch?
Yep, and if the flexibility is not there, definitely stay at liberty.
We're hanging out with
Nicole.
Nicole, what stunt sequence were you just working on?
I was working on a 1.5 or low to high, and then a full around, I think it's called, and a double down.
All right, and what's the hardest part of that whole sequence for you?
The double down, heel stretch double down.
And what have the coaches asked you to work on when you're working on that double down?
To keep my feet together.
All right, now we're hanging out with Black Ice Paige, who's helping coach the clinic here at Maryland Twisters. Paige, you're working on a lot of pull-ups and a lot of TikToks. What's the #1 problem you're seeing right now with the flyers and their TikToks?
In the TikToks, the flyers are switching too early or throwing their shoulders back, so they're not hitting.
And what's the #1 problem you're seeing with the pull-ups?
They're not standing up before they twist, or they're fishing out, not keeping their heads in to their shoulder.
And with both of those problems, is it a lot of core problems? Are we seeing a lot of weak bellies instead of staying tight?
Definitely, a lot of core problems.
What are some good exercises that you would give the flyers to stay tight in their core?
A lot of ab workouts, condition. We condition forever at practice.
All right, now I'm hanging out with the famous Taylor Hall at Maryland Twisters. Taylor, what are some really good exercises that flyers can do to make sure that they're in shape for flying?
You know, I definitely think the #1 thing, especially when you're flying, whether it's pyramids, a straight up stunt, a full up, any type of thing, your core is the most important part of your body, because it definitely keeps your hips squares, it keeps you focused and straight on, and it definitely helps your bases out when you're really tight in your upper body and you're squeezing your legs and everything's just squared off to the front.
What would be some examples that you would suggest?
Definitely anything similar to a sit-up, whether it's a V-up, a crunch, a pike-up, hollow body rockers, even lunges really helps out with your core and any type of tight muscle squeezing.
And what about for flexibility?
Flexibility, stretching, obviously, whether it's just a basic split, making sure you're holding your stretches for at least 30 to 60 seconds every time.
And now we're hanging out with
Sandra.
Sandra, what age are you?
I'm 17.
And how long have you been cheering?
I've been cheering since I was 6 years old.
Okay, and how long have you been tumbling?
Since last year.
Okay, so you only started tumbling and you're working on your round-off handspring?
Yes.
Okay, what's the hardest part of the round-off handspring for you?
Just being scared, I guess.
What do you think could happen to make you a little bit more confident?
I guess doing some more privates and helping myself get the scaredness out.
I know there's a lot of kids across the country who are feeling the same thing and are rooting for you, so good luck.
All right, thank you.
Now I'm hanging out with
Kaylee and Alyssa.
Okay, Kaylee and Alyssa, I want to ask you a question about tumbling. What tumbling skills are you working on right now with a spotter?
Well, we are working on our round off back handspring tucks. We're working on our round back handspring tucks, but we're getting ready to throw it by ourselves.
Awesome. What is the hardest part about throwing a tuck by yourself for you?
Getting high. Get my arms up in the air.
And what have your coaches been asking you to do to try to help you with that?
Squeeze, stay hollow. Well, my coach is trying to tell me to squeeze and hollow body and squeeze your abs and everything.
Now I'm hanging out with
Karen.
And Karen, you were on a level 1 team last year, is that right?
Yep.
Now this year you're on a?
Level 3.
What skills did you get over the last year?
Well, I started out on a level 2 team at the beginning of the year, but sometimes towards December, I was able to get my multiples and eventually my round-off handspring to tuck. I guess it kind of came to me naturally once because no one ever really taught me to tumble, and I guess once I figured it out, it was gonna come easy. It came easy.
And now we're hanging out with
Chase.
And Chase, you are on what team?
I'm on Black Ice.
And today you're helping?
I'm doing standing tumbling today.
Okay, and with standing tumbling, a lot of times you see a lot of the same mistakes over and over again. So what mistakes would you say you see the most of today in standing handsprings?
For our standing handsprings, I see a lot of not hollow bodies, open chests, arms out really wide. So to help correct those, we do a lot of handstands, a lot of hollow holds on the ground, and we slow it down sometimes before we speed it up into a nice fast handspring.
Awesome, and I see the other skill you're doing a lot of spotting on is standing tucks. What are some good tips and the common problems for standing tucks?
Finish your straight jump. A lot of kids just go for the skill instead of getting as high as they can first, then hips and toes over.
So finish jumping up in the air before I start trying to flip over.
Absolutely.
All right, now I'm hanging out with
Allison.
And Allison, what team are you on?
Maryland Sisters Weather Girls.
Okay, now I heard that this is your first year on a senior team, is that true?
Yes.
And Weather Girls is a world's bound team, yes?
Yes.
And in tumbling, your last pass?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a lot of pressure for a person who's a first year on senior team, going to worlds, last pass, flyer?
Sometimes, because you're new on the team and all, but I've done it before, so it's kind of, I'm getting used to it, and it's good because I have girls that motivate me, and they're a lot of good friends. They're like family.
That's awesome. Now, when you're standing there in the corner as last pass, you have a lot of time to think about what you're about to throw. What's the one thing you tell yourself before you throw your pass at every competition?
I have to make sure that I set on my double and all, because if you don't, it's really far back and it's harder to land and all.
We want to thank all of our friends from Black Ice and Maryland Twisters for having us out to their clinic today. We hope the tips that some of their coaches and athletes gave you will help you get better in the same skills. Thanks for checking out mycheerconnection.com.